Well, hey there, my friend. Welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast. Today, I have two things I'm going to share with you. First of all, before we jump in, I wanted to remind you that you are invited to join me for free for our Holiday Profits Workshop. Now, many of you have taken this before, previous years with me. We call it Rock Your Holiday Profits. This is so corny, I know. And you can join us on October 20th if you're listening to this in real time. It's October 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be doing it virtually. It's totally free. And here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about 3 ways to protect your profits this season. Now, what that means, it's not about profits only. It's not about profits over people, but this is for you if you love your community, you love serving them, you love your business, you love your team, and you just want it to keep being healthy and profitable. And we have to run profitable businesses in order to stay healthy, right? That's part of our job. So if you're serious about your business and your business success, you're not playing shop and you are wanting to be the CEO, this is what CEOs are looking at. They are looking at how they can protect their profits. And we are going to do that together. Usually I do this workshop over 3 days. We've done it over the last few years over a 3-day period, but we're all too busy for that. So this year we've combined it down into a 1-hour workshop. Free jumps, come and join us. It's no pressure, no hidden agenda other than I really want you to come and see where you can find the profits in your own business. See what you're like, stop working harder, start working smarter. This is one of those things that we're going to be doing. And I am going to share 3 different places that we can look to see. This has been a very popular workshop in the past. So I was talked into it by sharing actually this information with one of my clients. And she said, "You used to do this in a workshop. Why don't you do it again?" And so I am on a mission to help you run really successful retail businesses. So why not? My team and I put it together. We will be doing it October 20th, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can register. Now, let me see if I can grab the right place here. It's at wendybatten.com/holiday-workshop. Yes, holiday-workshop. We'll also have the information in the show notes so you can grab that. So I hope to see you there. Honestly, it's a very casual conversation. There's a little workbook if you're into workbooks. We've got that for you. We'll have a replay available. So register for the workshop, even if you can't attend live. I know it's a busy time now getting into the end of October here, but we'll have the replay. I want to encourage you, though, to show up live. And the reason I want you to show up live is because the energy in the room, I know it's a Zoom room, but being in a room with other people, I don't do this webinar style. Webinar style means it's just me as a talking head with slides. I do this as a group of other human retailers in the room. So you can see you're not alone. We gather together. We gather together in a common with a common ground of really, making this a really great fourth quarter for you, for each other, right? So you'll see that you're not alone. I always feel like sometimes more information and just a talking head of Wendy might not be what you need. Maybe what you need to do is see that there's other people in there. You'll see we have a lot of fun, by the way. We're going to have fun on this workshop. And there's a surprise bonus. I don't even know if we mentioned that in the registration for those who do show up live. I have a little surprise because I really want to reward you for being brave and coming and joining me and taking the time out. So all that to say, Rock Your Holiday Profits. It's a free workshop, October 20th, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can register. Link is in the show notes and all the places here. It's in my Instagram profile, all the places. And it's wendybatten.com/holiday-workshop. There, you'll find it there. Might be easier just to go find the link, right? So today's podcast, let's get to that. Today's podcast, I'm doing something a little bit different. I had an epiphany. I don't even know. Guys, is that even what you call it? An epiphany? I don't know. That's not the right word. But anyhow, I've lost my correct words. But I had an idea. There we go. I had an idea, and it was supported by a couple of my clients who said, yes, please share this. So on Fridays inside my Retailers Inner Circle program, I've been sharing 10 in 10. We call it 10 in 10. I've been doing it for years. I haven't done it for a while. I used to do it years ago, every week, 10 in 10, 10 questions from our group in 10 minutes or less. It's never 10 minutes or less. If you listen to the podcast, you know I like to chat. But anyhow, this was also brought on by, I want to make sure that we're current and that we're answering questions in the now. So we don't do this every week in the group, but over the holidays, I'm trying to make it a thing every week, especially for the month of October into November as well. But a recent 10 in 10, I also shared takeaways from some coaching questions. Some things come up when I'm doing my one-on-one coaching with my clients, or they come up in our mastermind group conversations, or they come up in our group, our Retailers Inner Circle program. And here's what happens. These are topical things. These are things that are coming up. So I go in and I answer these questions, or I bring them to light. I bring up topics that I'm hearing and things that I'm hearing from clients, tips, strategies, solutions, those types of things, because that's what I do. That's what I do all day long. So this podcast episode today is from my Retailers Inner Circle group, where I am sharing that 10 and 10, although it's not 10 and 10. It's a lot more than 10. I don't even know. I don't even know how many. I'm sharing recent, real and current questions and topics that came up. And it's just, I pulled it right out of my Retailers Inner Circle. So if you're wondering, sometimes I make reference to, leave a comment in the post. That's because it was inside my Retailers Inner Circle program in the group. But I want to also say, if any of these are good takeaways for you, if there's anything that sparks, or you have any ideas around things, like it sparks anything, or you'd like to continue the conversation with me, jump into my DMs in Instagram. I'm at wendybatten.biz on Instagram, and I'm having great conversations, and I love having conversations over there in the DMs. So if you're not a member, if you're a member of the Inner Circle, y'all, just let's chat like we normally do in the container that we are in, that we are always in. But if you're not in the Inner Circle, or you're not a mastermind member or a private client, well, you know what? Even if you are. Anyhow, I love conversations in the DMs. I would love to know if you listen to this and there's anything that sparks, let me know. And again, this is a replay from inside my Retailers Inner Circle. So keep that in mind as you're listening to it. And I'd love to know if you have any takeaways. As always, we love, 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 love. I say we, I mean me. Well, my team does as well too. And actually even my clients do. This is really funny. I recently had clients say they love reading the reviews on the podcast. And so I love it. So if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do. It helps us keep the podcast going, and leave a review if you can, but definitely subscribe as well. It's really helpful to us here at the Creative Shop Talk podcast, and it lets me know people are listening. So again, jump into the DMs in my Instagram. Let me know if you have any takeaways. I'm here talking to a mic. Sometimes I wonder, who's listening, but I love reading your takeaways, your reviews. I love when you subscribe. It does help us. It helps us keep this podcast going, and it helps other retailers find us. And when I say us, I mean me, right? So the Creative Shop Talk podcast is here for you, though. So again, my whole team and I, and specifically myself here, super, super happy to do these podcasts for you. And we want to keep them going. So I want to make sure that they're helpful for you. Okay, let's get to it. This is a podcast taken from my Retailers Inner Circle, my 10 and 10, which is real and current questions and topics from real retailers in the real time. Okay, my friends, have a fabulous listen, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Running a retail business doesn't have to be so hard. Welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast, the go-to podcast for creative shop owners, studio owners, and independent retailers. I'm your host, Wendy Batten, retail business coach and mentor. Each week, I'll share simple, proven business strategies, inspiring stories from fellow retailers, and advice from industry experts. Together, we're going to work to find the success you want from your retail business, with more profits in your till and a little more joy in your life. Well, hey there, my friends. It's 10 and 10 on Fridays. So I haven't done this for a while. So we're jumping back in every Friday, especially this month and this time of the year. We're going to be sharing 10, answering 10 questions or 10 takeaways from my coaching calls if I don't have 10 questions. That's what I'm jumping into today. So, first, questions that were in the group. I wanted to jump to Gina's question asking about bringing in vendors into your shop. So, if we're bringing in Meet the Makers or bringing in other vendors, how do we handle payments? How do we handle the money? So, most retailers will bring in the vendors and let them just sort of have their own table, their own thing. One thing you have to watch out for, not watch out for, but be aware of is that if you're selling their products, which obviously you do, the products that you've already brought into the shop, those have to go through your cash. If she's bringing or he's bringing in other things, they take care of that. So there can be a distinction. Just clarify that with your person in advance. A lot of people will also just bring in the makers for a Meet the Makers. Maybe it's a wine and cheese, maybe it's just a thing, and they're just, coming in to talk about their products. They're not selling. So they'll use the reason that we want to do that is we want to tell their stories. We want to explain how they make this beautiful thing. We want to borrow their audience, people who are already fans of their products, bring them into your store. So many makers will do, just come in and do like, Saturday morning from 9 to 10, they're going to come in and do a little talk about how they do this. So think about different ways that you can have a Meet the Maker event and how you can weave that in through your holiday planning. So Gina, I hope that helps you. I know you had lots of great answers from some of the other members in how they handle it. Most of them let the vendor, if they're selling things, just collect and take care of all their own money. So it's going through their business. Alternatively, if you're not bringing in makers, bringing in pop-up vendors. So if you're a home decor store and you bring in, a flower vendor or I don't know, another vendor, bread person. We have retailers who bring in different people. On Saturdays, it's a cupcake day for one of my vendors, one of my clients. She has a lady who comes in once a month on Saturdays with cupcakes, and everybody loves the cupcakes. So the store becomes the place to go get the cupcakes. So, but that person just takes care of her own cupcake money, and that's her business running inside that store. So just be aware of, all of that in advance before you set up things with your vendors. The other thing I also just want to urge you when you bring in vendors and bringing in people, especially over the holidays, especially if you're marketing it, make sure you have an ironclad understanding that they have to show up. There's nothing worse than talking about meet the vendor, come and meet Susie, our jewelry lady, blah, blah, blah. And then Susie flakes out on you at the last minute. So make sure who you're dealing with. And this has happened a lot. And that's your reputation on the line because it makes you look terrible. Anyway, all right. In order to keep this quick, I'm going to walk through them really quick. Another question that came up was about money dates. So two things on this. One thing that came up in a coaching call this week, they're like, I don't know how to do a money date. And then the second coaching call I had this week with a member was, oh my gosh, money dates. I thought you like rolled their eyes at me for years about money dates. So CEO dates, money dates, they can be the same thing. We have an entire list inside the headquarters on how to do and what to look at. Like when you sit down to do your CEO date, what the heck do I look at? That's part of it. So part of that can be a money date. Some people do CEO dates and a separate money date where they're going through all their finances. That's what I do. I do a CEO date on Monday, which maps out my week, my priorities. I do look back, and in the CEO date information that I teach, it is about looking back, looking at your inventory, looking at your sales, what drove sales last week, just some questions that you can go and answer. Flying around, but you can go and answer. But the money date can also be like something that we're doing the same time, the same place, the same rhythm every week, really understanding what money came in, what money went out, how did we make the money? Where are we up? Where are we down? Line by line on your bank account. It does not take long if you do it weekly. It gets scary and you get the ostrich effect, where you're not looking at it and it's like, I don't want to look at it because I don't want to deal with it. It's empowering to deal with it, to look at it every week. So whether it's good or bad or ugly, it's just data. So data is not a personal attack on you. So I just want to remind you, and data kills denial, which kills disaster. So data can actually help you if you look at it Friday mornings, let's say that's when I look at my data on Friday mornings, the story I told myself in my head maybe is that it was a bad week, or, oh, our expenses are out of control this week. But then when I looked at the data, it's like, okay, it's not that bad. And actually sales were up, and oh, inventory is great, and whatever, cash flow. But then we're also forecasting for what's coming up next week. So it's not complicated. I just want to remind you, the retailers that are doing money dates, and if you're doing a money date, you're listening to this, you're doing your CEO dates, would you comment here in the group? Because we have members in here that are just nervous, or I don't know, what is the hesitation? Why not do a CEO date? Like, what is stopping you? That's my only question on that. Okay. Somebody else, there was another question from a client, Molly, who asked me about her employees are using the custom button all the time. Like if something's not scanning, if things are not in the system, or if they can't figure it out, it's just easy to push the custom button. I know it's different things on different POS systems, but really it's just bypassing the inventory. And you know what? It's easy. It like literally the easy button, right? So we talked about the importance of making sure your team understand and you understand not to use that. What's happening? What happens in the trickle down? A, your inventory is a mess. B, we don't know what the cost of goods are on that. So we made sales last week. We made $100,000 in sales last week. Great. If it was all put in as custom, well, what did that cost us? We don't know. So your reporting ends up all off because we didn't make $100,000 last week, or $10 or $1,000, whatever the number is. We actually made that minus the cost of goods, right? So the cost of goods to sell, we sold this for $10, but really it cost me $5 to buy it. So we really just had $5 to play with and to spend, right? The $5 that was already spent, and that needs to go into allocation off of our inventory. That also affects your balance sheet. So your balance sheet becomes just a mess, because it's telling you, oh, you have all this inventory, and like you have all this money sitting in inventory, whereas you might not. You might have sold it all. Anyway, if you need more help on that, I want you to go into one of the modules, the inventory module that we have. We have a couple of different modules there on understanding the importance of your cost of goods. So you could go and look at, we have pricing modules. Well, I'm going to talk about pricing too, but we have a pricing module. We have Retail Made Simple, the main course here inside our group, which is called Retail Made Simple. Module 2 talks about the money. It'll help you understand your P&L, your POS, and your balance sheet, and what we should be looking at for that. So, and ask any questions that you have here, obviously, as always, in the group. Let's talk about profit. Let's talk about pricing. So right now, one of the things that came up this week, well, it's come up a lot over the last few weeks since I was in Texas. I had a lot of conversations around this. I've had a lot of conversations with my private clients and here in the group, and it's about the increased cost of running a business right now, especially in the United States. It's all creeping up. The tariffs are creeping in. I don't know any retailer who's not affected right now. So your pricing has to reflect this. My friend, you cannot just be looking at your sales numbers now. And really, you have to understand your sales numbers need to reflect all your actual cost of goods. I don't care what your sales were last year. You shouldn't care. I mean, we care, but we really want to understand why we're setting our sales goals the way we are. I'm going to talk about this every time we meet because that's the most important thing. Why are we setting that number? What is the cost of goods? What is it costing us to make that? If I want to sell this for $10 and I bought it at 8, I'm only making $2. That's not enough. So we have to make sure we're not using formulas. X the formulas. We need to make sure we're looking at the proper value. And, there are some formulas, but we want to look at pricing properly to make sure it is reflecting. We need to have our margins. So what I'm seeing lots of retailers doing right now is almost playing this like hide and seek game of like, where are they going to find it? I heard Annie B. Jones say that. I'll talk about her in a minute, but I heard Annie B. Jones say like, it's like this jigsaw puzzle now of which vendor you're going to buy from, and, watching the tariffs, watching the numbers, but it comes to you when you're pricing. So being nicely priced will put you out of business. You have to be properly priced. You have to be priced for profit. You have to be priced to make sure that it's going to cover all your expenses and your payroll. Everything is creeping up. Everything is creeping up. So if it's creeping up, your prices have to change. So if your cost is increasing, if this used to cost me $5 to buy and I sold it for 10 or whatever it is, we need to make sure that if I'm buying it for 8 now, and my payroll's gone up, and my rent has gone up, and my expenses have gone up, I want to make sure that you're not just being busy selling these for $10 and then trying to live on the little bits of money. You have to be priced properly. So we have a pricing module for you. It's still very relevant. I want you to go look at the pricing module. We also have the profit Protect Your Profit, like the back of the napkin profit masterclass is inside the headquarters under masterclasses. Go grab that if you need the link, Morgan, or I will put it here for you. That is gold. That is gold. And that even if you're, I hate the numbers, you can't hate the numbers. You're in a business that you need to know the numbers. So go learn your numbers and pay attention right now. It doesn't mean the death of small business. It doesn't mean we're going out of business. It means we need to be priced properly. And if the first thing out of your mouth is, my customers won't pay that, I want you to ask that if that's true. People are already getting used to being, prices are going up. But the second part of that is, if they won't pay that, if I have to price this at $40 for, if that's the pricing formula that comes, or the pricing, that ends up coming out, maybe it's no longer a viable product in my shop. So I either have to find a new supplier, or I have to say goodbye to this product, or I have to find customers who will pay for that. So I have clients doing all three things. They're retiring products, they're increasing prices, and they're also looking for, and this applies to different people. So we have to be making sure that we're speaking to the right customer. If a customer won't pay, and I don't want you, I want you to check your assumption on that sometimes. I want you to check your assumptions. If they won't pay, then it's not a viable product. And I feel like that's a hard thing to hear sometimes. So we have to look at all the categories. That has come out a lot in the last conversations I've been having with retailers over the last little bit. So I know we're going over our 10 minutes. I'm trying to keep my 10 and 10 but it's not going to work, right? So this is what happens. So protect your profits and go grab that profits masterclass, and go grab module 2 in Retail Made Simple, still very relevant. Okay, another takeaway from this week, and answering a question that happened inside the group. So Amy had a share with us about doing samples. So she actually had like food. She has a little food section inside her retail store, and she had samples. She's done it before, didn't always work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Keep trying. People need to touch and feel. And there's a whole retail psychology around this. It's called the mere exposure effect. And we've been talking about that for years. People, if they touch things, if they experience the use of this highlighter, if you're listening, if they're experiencing what what you have, whether it's a product to taste, a paint, a creative product that you have, or if it is, just a pen, even a book, holding a book in their hand, holding the fabric in their hand. This is called mere exposure effect. And what that means is they become familiar with it. So it's like something that they're now like, oh, I like that soup, and I've been exposed to it, right? I've been exposed to it in an intimate way. That's sort of how we like to look at it. The other side of mere exposure effect is also, and really that's just repeated familiarity, right? It's familiarity. It's talking about the products over and over. They hear about it over and over again. So that's the two sides of the mere exposure effect. It is a real thing. It works. And actually, if you think about what maybe your customers have experienced in the past, and or what you've experienced in the past, when as a consumer, when you hear things over and over again, or you hear about a product over and over again, like what, like they'll come in, and I've heard this in the studio in my shops, and I've heard this even through my programs. I keep hearing about this. I've got to experience it, or I've got to know about it. I see this everywhere. This is about branding. This can be about a product. So don't hesitate talking about your products, your favorite highlighter, your favorite pen. I know I'm joking because you guys all know on these calls, I'm always holding up whatever pen is in front of me. So I sell a lot of pens when I'm demoing, to you guys, but hear me out. if you have something that's a really popular item, and I'm going to go back to Amy and her soups and her, I think she has scones and biscuits and that kind of thing, and they did Saturday sample day, I think is what she's going to do it every Saturday. Sales went through the roof of those products, like up, I can't remember the percentage, like it went way up. Talk about that all the time. Talk about it during the week. Talk about the products. Talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it. We have a tendency to make assumptions that people know about our, in Amy's case, she has a little petit marché, is what she calls it in her shop. The little market is what that is en français. And in her shop, the little petit marché is like, you see it when you walk in, but maybe if we talk about it all the time, do demos, do, top sellers, do this, do that. When people walk in, they're like, oh, right, the little petite marché. Like they might not say that, but it is in their brain. And then now there's soup out there and like, oh, I'm going to try the soup. Oh, I love this soup. So it's a mere exposure effect. It's like over and over and over again, they're hearing about it. So whatever your top sellers are, or an area, if I want to sell a whole lot more pens, I want to talk about the pens more often. I want to talk about them. And you almost want to get sick of hearing about it yourself. So your signage, everything, wherever you're promoting, wherever you're advertising and marketing. So that worked really well. And I wanted that to be a takeaway today that I shared with you. Okay, what else do we have to share? I have a lot of things, but I'm going to wrap it up here. Annie B. Jones was our guest this week in our book club, our business book club. You missed it. If you didn't show up and you didn't read Ordinary Time and you didn't jump into the business book club that we have here, you missed such a wonderful event. So Annie B. Jones is the author of Ordinary Time, and she came. We invited her to come and speak with us. We actually met Annie. She's the owner of the bookshelf in Thomasville, Georgia. So we met Annie. I met Annie, and a bunch of our mastermind members met Annie last April when we hosted our mastermind retreat in her town, where Amy from the Hair and the Heart is. So we met her there, but then she wrote this book. The book came out after we were there, and she had a baby actually. Anyway, and we invited her on because she's a retailer and this author. It was really great. She's running an incredible bookshop. So we invited her into the book club after we chose her book as our book club. So if you read the book, you know how amazing it was. But here's a takeaway that, and you have the opportunity to watch the replay of our book club meeting. I want to encourage you to do it. Annie had incredible nuggets. Our Millie from Mrs. Blackwell's Village Bookstore in New Zealand, who's a member, not here in the group though, not on Facebook, right? So, and Millie was our moderator. She's our moderator of our book club. She asked her incredible questions. One of the questions that we talked about, or that she answered, was about, and I thought this was a great takeaway for everybody here. One of the questions she answered was about hiring. So saying goodbye to people and then hiring new people, and how do you hire smart? And her take on it was so good, really thorough. And I want you to go listen to the replay that we have inside the group here for you to hear all her other takeaways around this. But here's a really great tip for all of you that we can all use. When she hires people, so there's a great hiring process, and she shares that all in the video. You can go listen to that. But then she has them come in for 1 4-hour shift as a shadow shift. She pays them for this. And here's where that separates the good from the bad. I actually love this. And I know a few of you have already done this in the past, but it separates the wannabe, like the people, those people who think they want to run a retail business, or they think it's going to be all fun and games and they're going to sit behind the behind the counter, and they're just going to fluff things and talk to lovely people all day. You know, we have people that think that that's what we do, right? Or you do in your retail business. But she brings them in so that they can realize you're on your feet all day, and all the realities of the behind the scenes, that you're cleaning and all the things that happen in the run of a day in a retail business. So I loved that takeaway, and I hope that you can take that away. And I want to remind you, please, if you have put your earbuds in and listen to our conversation, our book club meeting with Annie B. Jones from Ordinary Time and from the bookshelf, and go follow Annie. She's an incredible person to go follow. She has a podcast. Her store is beautiful. Her staff are wonderful. The culture she's created in her business is what I hope most of you are aligning yourself to do. It's what I teach and preach, and hospitality and culture from the top, and leadership, and running a business in a small town, and the benefits of that, the joy of that. the hard parts of that, we do talk a lot about that in that session. So I want to encourage you to go do that. And, one tiny last thing I want to mention, it's not a tiny thing, it's actually a big thing that I had another takeaway from a client that I want to remind you of. It is really important that you stretch yourself. And I don't mean physically or mentally, or, well, maybe I do mean mentally, but I don't mean like work harder, more hustle. That's not what I mean. One of our members here, and I don't want to call her out by name, but one of our members here was running, everything was fine. Everything was fine. Business is fine. Everything was fine. And I'm going to use the word fine because it wasn't great. She's a hard worker. Her shop is beautiful. And we worked together privately. And I said, like, this is ridiculous. Like, why are you making this much money? A business of your caliber should be making this much money. And I don't like shitting on you, and you all know that I don't should on you, but I stretched her. I'm like, you're like, what would it what would it have to look like? What would need to be true for you to be leveled up? So you go from here to here. And it was very like a visual, what's the word? Like she was not shaken, but like she was visually like, eek, no, that's a lot. But I gave her all the reasons why I thought that was possible for her. And the reasons were she's running a good business. Like it needed refinement, it needed optimized, profits needed to be protected, marketing needed to be dialed in. It was just sort of already doing good with, with people coming in and people knowing about her business. But just saw so much more for her. Like I'm like it could be so much more. It could be so much better if you push those marketing levers that we're always talking about, more visibility, different engagement and nurturing, increasing the shop, changing her image. This is actually was the big key. She's been in business for a long time and everything was like just okay. Well, she's refining and elevating her image, her brand. And so we had a call, and it's been 3 months since I said, I think that you do so much better, like, and not in a make more money way, but that is the outcome, right? In a quality of life way too, right? So increasing your business and getting your mojo back for your business and feeling in love with your business and feeling good and proud and increasing your sales, increasing your customer awareness, increasing your profit, like getting dirty and deep down into those numbers is what she ended up doing, and her brand. She's been refining her brand. She's got I see it every time we meet. We have a conversation. She's here in the group, and she probably won't call herself out. However, the takeaway for this is, are you stretching yourself? Like, is this what are you like? Are you where you want to be? And is the brand you're building where you want it to be? What could be better? Like, where could we elevate? What could we increase? What could we push ourselves to make? I'm also seeing other retailers do that. A few that have mentioned here, I see Jeff has been doing that. A couple of other retailers that are bringing in new product lines to attract a sort of a different clientele, weeding out. Like that's what evolving your brand does, weeding out the old. Like this particular client, her sales are, she hasn't gone like all the way where, I kind of stretched her to think, but man, she's gone up about 40%. She's like feeling like the energy, the momentum, she's gone up quite a bit. She's doing things, and I just see nothing but amazing things ahead. So I just want you to think about what it looks like for you to stretch yourself and get a little audacious with your goals. And again, we're not just shooting for number goals. Success comes in so many different ways as a retailer. Being proud of your shop is a huge one. Time, like how much time are you spending? And I have lots of clients who are working towards, and lots of retailers here in the inner circle that are working towards running beautiful businesses, you know, and having the team to run it so that you have the energy to be the CEO. And nothing great comes without energy and enthusiasm, and nothing good happens. There's no such thing as an awesome business. It doesn't happen accidentally. Awesome is not accidental. I always say that because it's not accidental to have an awesome business that serves you and that feels good. Okay, this has been a long, a long 10 and 10, but I did want to pop in today and just give you some. There's a bunch that I haven't even shared. Next week, we'll be back. I'll be back with another 10 and 10 here inside the Retailers Inner Circle. I want your questions. What are your questions? I'm coming in to answer them. I will also share some takeaways from coaching calls that I have during the week. Okay. See you back here next time, next Friday, inside the inner circle for our 10 and 10. Okay. Love you guys. Bye. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I'm so glad that you were here to join us this week, and I hope you found value in what we're sharing here. I want to remind you that our website has all of the show notes. You can find it at wendybatten.com/podcast. Everything that you need to hear about today's podcast is there. Also an opportunity if you need to reach out to me. If I can support you in any way whatsoever, please feel free to reach out. So thanks for joining us. Please leave a review, subscribe if you can, and never miss an episode. We hope to see you back here again next week. Thanks, my friend. Have a great week.